Galaxy S24 Ultra got announced with a lot of attention on its new Galaxy AI services. But what about the rest of it? Today we're going to uncover 10 of the best hidden features that Samsung didn't announce or tell us about that we've managed to dig up. Daniel here from SamMobile TV. Let's take a look at our top 10 hidden features on the Galaxy S24 Ultra. As we love to do here at SamMobile, we're going to split today into 3 different categories. There's going to be 10 features or 10 things to uncover, but they're going to be underneath a different heading. The first one's going to be around the design and the display, because I think those two kind of coincide with each other. They sort of surround the device and create the aesthetic of what you're looking at. Then we're going to dig into some of the camera features, and that's probably where the bulk of it will lie. And then we're going to look at some of the software stuff, the little tinkering, little toggles that they've enabled to make you use this phone to its top tier potential. Let's get into number 1. Underneath design. And it's kind of a design and a display feature at the same time. When Samsung announced the S24 series, they talked about on stage about the Corning partnership and how they've used Corning Gorilla Glass on their phones. The front display getting Gorilla Glass armor. Now it was briefly fleeted over on stage, but the anti-reflectivity coating that is on this front display is phenomenal. It reduces glare by 75% compared to the S23 Ultra. On my personal Twitter, I was actually the first to uncover that this existed, and I definitely had a sort of a side-by-side comparison, and you can see the difference in like a studio lighting environment, which I have here, of how this anti-reflective coating works. But when you take it outdoors next to the S23 Ultra, absolutely see the difference that this can make. And whilst there's some stuff around how the S23 Ultra has different colors outdoors compared to the S24 Ultra. It's no good if you can't see it. And the anti-reflectivity on the S24 Ultra means that you're getting a flawless experience looking into the colors that are on the screen. That paired with the 2600 peak brightness nit display, very good combination. When Samsung upgraded the frame to be titanium on the S24 Ultra, they also did something to the speaker housing. Now they also did this same speaker housing change to the S24 and the S24 Plus, but in the S24 Ultra, it's now a slit instead of open holes individually. This, probably by design, has created like a hollow chamber to evacuate the sound through. That's a really good phrase. And when you compare it to the S23 Ultra, it's not that it sounds louder, although there is a big difference in loudness, but it's also got a bit more clarity to it. Take a listen. Because it's not just about the individual features that Samsung have updated. There is core things about how you'll use it that will make sense clumped in together. Because it's not just about the individual features that Samsung have updated. There is core things about how you'll use it that will make sense clumped in together. Very clear, and I like what it's done. Number 3, buttons. Yes, buttons. Making the display flat and giving more room to the frame around the outside has actually allowed Samsung to put in some bigger buttons. Now that might not sound like a big upgrade. That might sound like something that you would just fleet over, but you press these a lot. Whether it be changing volume on music, whether it be turning on the phone, these buttons are something that you don't think about, but they're very important to a user experience. Next to the S23 Ultra, you can see the difference in size. It might not look like it's much, but the extra width on the buttons compared to the S23 Ultra mean you're getting more surface area to actually click. And the clickiness feels nice too. So it might not seem like much, but it's definitely an upgrade worth mentioning because that's something you interact with quite a bit. Okay, let's get into the cameras. At number 4, Samsung have got some new camera assistant features worth noting. A couple of years ago when Samsung launched Camera Assistant, there were some really useful functions in here that enabled you to get better use and more customization out of your own personal camera experience. This year, they've enabled some pretty interesting stuff around video. They've got something called depth of field correction, which is meant to help with sensors that sort of create that depth effect, like the laser autofocus module, for example. What I've noticed it does is just the video in pro video mode or pro photography mode to be the other way around. Why you'd want that, I'm not sure. It might have something to do with viewing it or editing it later. But if you know, drop us a line in the comments. The one I'm most interested in here though is not the anamorphic lens correction, although that is quite cool, but I don't have anything to sort of play around with, is the audio monitoring. It seems like such a small thing, but when you are someone who records a lot of video through your phone, like I am, having live audio monitoring as a toggle that you can turn on is going to be so useful. And because you don't need any extra equipment. If you have a pair of buds or a USB set of earphones, that is all you need inside the native video recorder. And as soon as you plug it in and the camera is launched into a video mode, you will start to hear the feedback in your earbuds of what is the camera is picking up on.
That's crazy. Huh. Well, that works.
So when you hit record, you'll get that live feed coming through so you can monitor audio levels and make sure it's not too loud, and also make sure it's actually picking up volume if it's from further away, for example. I see that one as being really useful. Let me know if you're going to use it. Number 5, 4K 120 frames per second recording. So Samsung have introduced 4K 120 in 2 different ways. The first way, which is mainly spoken about, is the Pro Video mode, where you can activate 4K 120. It works in both the ultra wide and the wide angle, and you have options to choose which one you want to use when you're recording. It's quite intuitive and also crazy fast motion. The stability kind of disappears, so maybe you'll need a tripod, but honestly, it is so incredibly fast, and you can easily slow it down in post-edit to be able to make it as fast as you want. Go to a quarter speed, and you've got yourself 30 frames per second at 4K, but really, really slow. It's nice. But where else they've introduced it is in slow motion. Now, the keen eye might have noticed that Samsung has removed super slow-mo. I'm not too bothered by that. I think it had a bit of its fleeting moment in the sun, and then everyone kind of forgot about it. The fact that Samsung are putting more attention into slow-mo with 4K 120 means that they're taking that a bit more seriously. And you can have more fun with this. The way you shoot here is you shoot it, and it will automatically slow down a section of the video for you. Whereas in Pro Video mode, you have to kind of do it manually yourself. In slow motion 4K 120, it'll isolate a section of the video automatically. You can go into edit and change it, and it'll automatically default to quarter speed again, and you can manually go slower if you need to. But the options are there, and the fact you've got either Pro Video mode or slow motion, I think is really nice. Number 6, Expert RAW. Samsung has updated it to be able to do 24 megapixels from the main camera. Samsung kind of slipped this one in here. It kind of just happened. When I had the phone before it was announced, Expert RAW was not downloadable. It's almost like Samsung intentionally left it off the Galaxy store on this phone until announcement day. As soon as announcement day went live, I downloaded Expert RAW, and there it was. 24 megapixel Expert RAW option for the main camera. When Apple defaulted to 24 megapixel with the iPhone 15 Pro series, a lot of people were wondering how Samsung were going to implement it, because naturally they sort of yin and yang each other, and Samsung were definitely going to do something with their high resolution sensors. The way they've done it here is quite clever. Because in the main photo mode, you already have 12, 50, and 200 megapixel options, it made sense to slip 24 megapixel in as some sort of pro expert level photography feature. I think the way they've made this work too is by introducing adaptive pixel into Expert RAW as a setting and a toggle that you can enable. This is usually what Samsung have enabled for the 200 and the 50 megapixel in the main photo app, but in here, they've put it in so you can probably bring in that 24 megapixel. What I really like here with the 24 megapixel option is it achieves that balance between 12 and 50, and it's that perfect middle ground for detail and for HDR and processing. For now, it's only the main camera. The option's still there when you switch cameras, but it will only take a 12 megapixel photo. Number 7 is called dual recording. I don't think we're all ready for how good this one is. I think it's going to be the most underrated Samsung feature on the S24 series this year. Samsung have replaced Director's View with this. Director's View was a really neat feature that allowed you to live preview the 3 rear cameras and switch whilst you're recording quite seamlessly. You could see what the other cameras were looking at, so you could take a better guess as to when you needed to zoom in. You also could record the selfie camera at the same time and then save them as 2 separate videos. Dual recording, or dual video as it's called, upgrades on this. 1, it now records in 4K, whereas Director's View was only full HD. But 2, rather than needing to choose between the selfie and the rear camera and only those options, you can choose from any of the rear cameras to record from. I think except the 5 times. You can go ultra wide and 3 times. You can go ultra wide and wide. You can go wide and 3 times. So you have a balance of recording one camera and another as 2 individual videos. Yep. Which means that if you're like at a show or you're at a sports event or a concert, you can capture the context of the wide angle and also get closer with a telephoto or the wide angle itself. Means you're getting the full picture. And because they're both recording at the same time, all the audio is synced. So when you go back and edit a clip together later, you have both already synced up, ready to go. In the gallery, when you're viewing this back, it has a little reminder to tell you what clip you're looking at, whether it's dual video wide or dual video telephoto. I love this. I cannot wait till I get my son back into football so I can use this to record his training and his games. Number 8, the last one for the camera, is the new auto framing update. Samsung brought in auto framing with the Z Flip, I believe it was, back when that got introduced at the start of 2020. What I really like with what it does is it basically allows the camera to sort of be still and then use the ultra wide angle lens to follow people around the room. It was limited though. It could only, again, use that ultra wide camera, and it was limited to full HD, which when you're zooming in on auto framing doesn't quite work. Samsung have upgraded it with the S24 series. Auto framing 1 now supports 4K. Again, Samsung have upped the resolution, but 2, you can pre-select which camera to record from. So you've got ultra wide and the 1x or a 2x crop of the 1x sensor, which means you'll start from ultra wide angle, or a 2x cropped in. Either one you choose from, the whole purpose is it'll isolate a subject in the video and then follow them around. This is amazing. Honestly, if you've got kids, if you've got pets, you can either tap on the subject and it will track it, or it will auto track and recognize subjects in the frame and work to keep them in. And the fact it's now 4K too means you have more resolution to work around with. It's incredible. And it's one, again, it's another one that they've sort of slipped in there and just adds more versatility to this already incredible camera system. Okay, 2 more to go, and they're both software related. They're pretty much both to do with like lock screen and display. So not really inside the phone itself, more with what you're looking at on the screen when your phone is locked. First one is inside advanced features, inside labs, is something called photo ambient wallpaper. This is a service that you enable, and once you've enabled it in labs, go into the wallpaper and set it. And what this will do is, depending on the weather, it will create an animation overlaid over your wallpaper to show you what the weather is. I mean, you could just look outside, but that's no fun. Sometimes it's fun to have that sort of looking at your phone if you're stuck in an office or in retail all day. You go, oh, it's raining, because there'll be sort of an effect on the screen. Really nice, and just, again, it's a labs feature, so obviously it's in progress, but the fact that Samsung give you previews in here to show you some fun stuff, I'm all about it. As we know, there is a new always on display. Samsung haven't been shy, I guess, in not really announcing this, but pretty much you see it the first time you boot the phone. This is what it's set to. What I really like with it though is that there's options, of course. The fact that I can set it to be auto, so it will smartly detect when it needs to be on. If it's a dim environment, it won't be on, for example. Further to that too, Samsung have creatively thought of a way to reduce the amount of battery usage that this might take, especially if you're someone who has like a photo of a pet or your kids as your lock screen background. You can erase the background of the objects, so it's just showing them and blackens out everything else for your always on display. It does it so intelligently and quickly that you won't even really notice that it's done it until your lock screen is off and your always on display is on. Like right now, you can see that the back is black, but then if I press the button to unlock it, the animation appears. And then when you lock it, it goes back into that. It is so seamless. And interactivity is great with it as well. That's not a word. I really like what it's done, and I appreciate Samsung have given us these sort of options. But that's the top 10 list of hidden features that Samsung have thrown into the S24 Ultra series. If you like this video, please make sure you hit like. And of course, go check out our other S24 videos that we have currently got up on the channel. And make sure you subscribe for some more Samsung content that is going to be coming your way. We've just got the S24 and the S24 Plus in the house to do some reviews and looking at these, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and come follow us for this journey. Go visit us on our website where we have wall-to-wall coverage of Samsung software, news, updates. It's all there. Also come find us on our social media, SamMobile. We're on Twitter/X and also Instagram and also on TikTok. And we'll see you next time. Thanks.